Here I come, here I come, here I come. Hey everyone, Kulprit, officially an elder. D here, that's right. It's time for a review of the new Jamie Foxx record, Hollywood, the story of a dozen roses. And for this review, I'm going to have a special guest who was actually supposed to help me out on the last review but couldn't make it. That is Atlanta rapper Dakota. We call him Young Dakota, or Young Daco, for short. ATL rapper Dakota, Jamie Foxx, Hollywood, story of a dozen roses.
I want to be fighting you on this zombie. Don't want to get in the rain and the party's on me. Skirt.
Alright, I think everyone knows who Jamie Foxx is. Yes? Yes? Or are we in agreement here? You know who Jamie Foxx is?
I love me G-Fox and I want to go with it back to the side. Skirt. I love me G, you won't open the seal. Oh, God, no swag, everybody.
Don't understand a word you're saying. Anyway, Jamie Foxx, actor, comedian, musician, in Living Color was kind of his launch to stardom. Went on to have some kind of more hood classic movies like Held Up and Booty Call, showcasing his comedic acting skills. The Jamie Foxx Show, actually a very funny, underrated sitcom that ran for a handful of seasons, and then Jamie really started to get some shine and show off his diverse skill around the middle of the last decade with his movie Ray, winning an Oscar for that, and then also albums like Intuition and Best Night of My Life, showcasing that he's also an R&B singer. And a lot of people don't know, Jamie actually, his first album ever came out back in 1994, and it was called Peep This, and it was under his own record label, which I believe was an imprint of Warner Brothers called Foxx Records. But it's 21 years old this year, and if anyone hasn't heard it, I encourage you, please go listen to this thing. This, to me, is the best album Jamie has done. It's just raw singing, powerful vocals, new jack swing influenced R&B here, just nice 90s R&B balladry and soulfulness. That is actually the first thing I ever heard Jamie sing on when I got to be a Jamie Foxx fan about 5 years ago, and heard him sing in some of his comedy shows, heard him sing on his TV show, and then I gave the Peep This album a listen. I thought, man, Jamie has got some pipes, and I need to really invest in some more of his music. I was, kind of pleasantly surprised to find a few decent tracks off some of the albums he's dropped within the past 10 years. Namely, one of the songs I liked, I was kind of sucked into liking it, was Fall For Your Type, the song he did with Drake. When I noticed a few weeks ago that this album was about to come out, Jamie Foxx, Hollywood, the story of a dozen roses, I got kind of excited. It's been 5 years since Jamie's put out an album, and I also noticed that Jamie was really pushing this album and saying this is a return to just good old-fashioned R&B. This is going to be just raw and it's going to be kind of organic as opposed to the synthetic, auto-tuned out stuff that we have nowadays. And this album, unfortunately, did not live up to that claim. If anything, instead of Jamie bringing back that classic R&B sound, he pretty much kind of just toes the line and left R&B exactly in the state it was in. If you're looking for artists that are bringing back that classic R&B sound, you might want to listen to people more like Kim, like Joe. They're even the new the new Snoop Dogg album Bush, which was absolutely atrocious in regard to a rap album, but as far as a funk and disco influenced R&B album, it ain't that bad, folks. Now, compositionally, there are some really crisp and lush productions on here. A lot of them hip-hop influenced R&B beats that are so common nowadays, especially thanks to artists like Chris Brown and Drake over the past 5 or 6 years or so. But musically, production-wise, and especially when it comes to live instrumentation, it does leave a lot to be desired. There are a couple of different slight tiny ventures out into some other pools of the R&B world, like a little bit of neo soul and just a little bit of that new funk revival we're having, and a little bit of alternative or hipster R&B. Such as artists like FKA Twigs or that one girl whose name I can't pronounce, but does that great song called "The Worst." Or it's like Jhené Aiko or something. I don't know. But they're not like blatant going all out. They're just very moderate steps in those directions, and they're just somewhat kind of pulled off. We see those ventures in songs such as Like a Drum. There's also another one on here, Babies in Love with Kid Ink, and the song that he did with Chris Brown on here, You Changed Me. And Jamie Foxx. One positive thing I will say about this album is that it's not oversaturated with rap features. That's a problem that R&B singers have had for a while now, is just having a good song and sounding good on a nice neo soul or R&B track, but then for whatever reason just bringing in a ton of guest rap features and kind of killing the romantic and sexy vibe of the song you're listening to. But Jamie luckily doesn't bring too many people into play. Even when he does, they're kind of people that are somewhat good at this style, like Chris Brown and Kid Ink, who are by now very familiar with this form of hip-hoppy club R&B that we have showcased in a few spots on this album. Now, Jamie Foxx, if you haven't heard him, is a phenomenal singer. I encourage you to look up some YouTube videos of him singing live in his comedy shows or on some sort of talk show interview, or like I said, listen to the Peep This album, which just is amazing and beautiful. But my problem with this thing vocally is while Jamie is nice to listen to, Jamie's is just way too tame on this album. Foxx is a guy that can just wail, and he can hold his own with people like Charlie Wilson and people like Joe and the guys from Jodeci. He can sing with the likes of those people. He's got that kind of powerful, no effect needed, beautiful vibrato run voice. For example.
Hey, yeah, yeah, what was it? Absurd, I'm needing the keys in my bed. Hey, yeah, choppers in the fold and the real diamonds in the bed.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds nothing like that, but okay. But he's got one of those voices, and on this thing, he's just way. He just plays it safe too much. He doesn't belt like I'm used to hearing Jamie do, and the amount of auto-tune on this thing, especially throwing it on a voice like Jamie Foxx's, I think it should be considered a new deadly sin. Jamie, no exaggeration, has the voice of an angel. It's very angelic. It's very smooth. It's very captivating. But man, why he would choose to auto-tune himself on pretty much every single song, with the exception of maybe 3 or 4. I don't know why. I don't know why he would do this, except for the fact that is the trend right now, and that's what's so common in the genre. This album, I will say, does have somewhat of a storyline and a little bit of a concept. I'm taking it that Hollywood, the Story of a Dozen Roses, as the track listing plays out pretty decently, is the story of a girl that he met when he moved out to Hollywood, had a relationship with, got addicted to, and then she got sucked up in the life of glamour and glitz that comes with life in Hollywood, and Jamie has to make this choice to leave her and split from her, and how saddening that is. Kind of the back forth of the album, we have a couple of piano tracks that Jamie does, where that really showcases what Jamie Foxx R&B is all about. Just him, his voice, and his piano, and just absolutely melting you. There are also a couple good songs in the middle of this thing, like the song Babies in Love with Kid Ink. I think is actually, even though it does have a rap verse and it's got that kind of somewhat cliche neo-disco thing that's going on right now, thanks to people like Pharrell and Daft Punk. And also the song Text Message. I think those moments and also the storyline of this album kind of redeem the watered down and just run-of-the-mill modern R&B fashionings we have going on throughout this whole LP. You know, that's all I've got to really say about this album, and you know, normally a modern R&B album is not something that I would touch on, just because I know kind of what to expect with modern R&B albums, you know, thanks to people like Chris Brown and T-Pain. But Jamie is someone who I really admire. I think he's a very talented actor. I think when he wants to be, he's a brilliant musician and a brilliant compositionalist. And I was excited when I found out about this album. And while I will say this album, I think, is better than his past couple releases, and that it's not so much club oriented. There are a couple songs that could be played in the club, but nothing is blatantly, hey, here's a club song. I think this album is a little bit of a letdown. It's enjoyable to listen to. It's fine, but I don't think, for the most part, a lot of these songs aren't ones that I'm going to revisit. So overall, on this album, I'm feeling just maybe a 2 out of 5 on it. If you're a Jamie Foxx fan, I think this might be a decent investment if you can find it at a good enough price. However, if you do like more neo soul and people like Maxwell, Music Soul Child, D'Angelo, I don't think this would really appeal to you too much. This is way more toward the mainstream and clubby aspect of R&B. But that's it. Anything else you guys want me to review? Please let me know. There's a couple new reviews up, the To Pimp a Butterfly and the new Soulja Boy mixtape, which, don't ask me why I reviewed that. I just got bored. A couple more reviews coming of some local music as well. Anything else I need to touch on, please let me know. And hope everyone has an awesome, awesome Memorial Day. Rock on. See you later.
You know it's anywhere from any same kind of food in the pot, in the cooking, in the Lamborghini. Turn up, turn up, turn up.